right. He was 100% correct, and he was completely, total polar opposite of what you heard. Oh, the election's close. Oh, Kamala's got a 50% approval rating. Oh, we're going to win. No. Right down the line. She didn't have a big approval rating. She had 10%, and it went down from there. She wasn't going to win. She was going to lose in a landslide. Trump was going to win. He was going to be victorious. Before that, the prediction was from my next guest. They were going to shoot him. They tried twice, or at least. Then he said, well, they're going to try to get him in a big war. What's Joe Biden doing right now? Sending billions of dollars of arms as he's leaving office and trying to get a big war. Right. Okay, and it's Martin Armstrong I'm talking about. Martin Armstrong, the man with the golden computer. You should have your own James Bond film. Martin Armstrong, the man with the golden computer. But anyway, you were right, and hats off to you. What do you see? So you had your conference, and it was after the election. I predicted it would be the biggest conference streaming, because you always sell out. The biggest conference streaming ever. Was it the biggest conference streaming ever since in all the time you've had your World Economic Conference?
Yeah, passed over 100,000, but
wow.
It was pointed out to me by one of the political attendees. They said, you realize that you're the only one that's not blocked worldwide.
Wow.
And I didn't really think about it until I said, you're right. We have offices in China. I've even appeared on TV in Russia. We're not blocked by any country. That's very interesting. I think they all know it's just the computer. It's not a personal opinion.
And what you said in the pre-interview, you said you had somebody come up to you, and I said, where are they from? Washington. And what did they say? They actually came to the conference. What did they say to you?
Basically, 2 weeks before, I was getting calls from Washington. Are you sure your computer's going to be right? Everybody's saying it's going to be a landslide for Camilla. They're going to take both houses and the White House. I said, I'm sorry. It's completely the opposite way. Look, the computer has never been wrong on this stuff. It's just looking at the economics. All right. And I'll explain it this way. 40% of the people always vote Democrat, and the other 40% will always vote Republican, regardless of who you put in there. It could be a monkey, all right? The elections are always decided really by the people that actually think, all right? So if you look at most of the elections throughout history, you'll see only 3 presidents ever even got 60%. That was FDR one time, Johnson after Kennedy was assassinated, and Richard Nixon when he said he was taking us out. Of Vietnam. Everybody else, I think Obama was 51.5%. Most of them are like 51 to 54%. That's about it.
What was Trump this time?
I didn't check yet on the final count on that, but he won the popular vote and the Electoral College, so they could not deny it this time. And
do you think they still cheated? Do you think because they had just out of one of the last races was solved. Oh, we had vote curing, and a month later, the incumbent red district California, but he lost by 167 votes, something like that. Are they that's retarded.
No, this is the problem. The computer has basically also warned that this may be the last election because it's just the country's so divided, and it's a psychological war tactic that you demonize the opponent. They did that to Saddam Hussein. They've been doing it to Putin. They did it to Assad to try and get into Syria. Gaddafi, you name it. They also used it against Trump domestically.
It would about Joe Biden. Had him up, right after the election. I'm going to invite him to the White House. Well, why you called him Hitler? Yeah, everything will be all right. That's what they did. It's unbelievable.
Look, the problem becomes when you use that sort of psychological warfare. how do you then stand up and shake hands with the devil? And this is the problem. They have created such a division in this country that you have a lot of people that just, oh, Trump's evil, this, whatever, and you can't say, well, sorry, that was just a tactic we used, and it's not true. All right, this is the problem. So you're going to see there. What I've heard is that they're planning on a major protest for his inauguration again. They want to make it so bad that he has to call out they have to call out the National Guard, and then they'll say, see, he's a dictator. I mean, it's this whole thing. I mean, when Biden went into office, the very first day, he just opened the border. And
that's right.
They went down the line. Whatever Trump did, just reverse it.
They killed the Keystone Pipeline. On the first, they killed $1.2 billion in union pay. $1.2 billion. Poof.
I can tell you right here in Tampa, a military base is what the center for watching the Middle East, and Trump had put together a team, and he said to figure out how to extract us from Afghanistan. Biden came in, and I can tell you what did he do? Oh, Trump hired them, fire them all.
Oh, that's why. So that's why it was so disheveled leaving Afghanistan. Yeah. Also, 13 servicemen got blown up along with about 60, 70 other people.
They demonized Trump to such an extent. It did not matter what the issue was. Whatever he did had to be reversed. And it's just created total chaos. And, this is unfortunately, when we're looking going forward, I always try to differentiate my personal opinion from the computer, all right? Because the computer's right when, my opinion, sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, but it's, the computer just calls it the way it is. And
so what do you think's coming forward? What do you think's coming?
They are, look, I know some of these neocons. Bill Kristol even spoke at one of our conferences in the 90s. His father's the one that started the neocon movement. I argued with him years ago. He said if we took out Saddam Hussein, Assad out of Syria, and Gaddafi, remove those three dictators, will bring peace to the Middle East. I mean, the Middle East has never had democracy. Democracy isn't necessarily compatible with the hardline Islamic view. You can't even say anything. It doesn't support free speech. I mean, just look at Iran. I mean, women, can't be seen, without scarves and burqas and stuff. I mean, that's not democracy.
But what do you think is coming? What are you seeing coming? I got to ask you about Hunter Biden, the pardon too. But what do you see coming?
They are trying to create World War III.
Yeah,
what these neocons have done is they have it going. They've seized control of Europe. NATO is really just a retirement home for neocons. It should have been shut down. Trump was right about that. Even Jamie Dimon at Davos, he said Trump was right about the border. He was also right about NATO.
Wow.
It's a... I've seen the memos, all right? NATO was very upset that money was going to climate change. And they were afraid that they were losing their funding. So any government agency you create, anything, they will always fight to survive. And so what did NATO do? The memos basically were saying, how do we remain relevant?
Oh boy. And
You remain relevant only by constantly creating war. I mean, Putin is not interested in invading Europe. I mean, that's the old line from Khrushchev. We will bury you. I mean, Putin's not a communist, and he wasn't an oligarch. That's why Yeltsin, turned to him, because he was also being he had the oligarchs trying to seize the country and hand it to America, and then he had the old communists who filed an impeachment motion trying to remove him so they could take it back to the USSR. That's why he turned to Putin. Putin was in the middle. And, so the Russian people don't want to go back to communism. I mean,
your computer...
Eastern Europe's the same way.
Your computer, are you saying war? Look, it seems to me, Lavrov is wanting to, I think he's wanting to find a way to slow this down. They've been going at this for 3 years. What's another 6 weeks? Does your computer see war now, or do you see the Russians holding off to see what Trump's going to do?
Putin's a very smart guy. Excuse me. I even have the declassified documents from the Clinton administration. Even, Clinton, when he met him, he says he's a very smart man. All right? He's not dumb. All right? So he understands what the game is now. And he knows that they are trying to bait him into everything possible. So they just want him to basically attack anything in NATO so they can say, see, he's the aggressor. I feel sorry for the Ukrainian people. You're talking about over 1 million people have died for what? This is a neocon operation, period. When they weren't getting what they wanted, Putin was not attacking NATO. So what did they do? They told Zelensky, invade Russia.
Yeah,
right?
The Kursk region.
So he invades Russia.
Which was a disaster.
Supposedly, all right, he was defending the Donbass, and they've been losing ground all the time. So this has got nothing to do about Ukraine.
And then Biden sending the $7 billion in new weapons. I mean, you gotta. People are the troops on the Ukrainian side are reportedly AWL at an alarming rate. A couple 100,000 have said forget it. The last new recruits for the Ukrainian army last 4 hours on the battlefield. They're just a slaughterhouse. You've got at least 500,000, if not, you called that. And when they were saying, oh no, it's 60 or 70,000, you were at 250 and 300, and for you were the amount of troops dead in Ukraine, you were way higher than them, and that is ultimately that's what ended up being the real number.
Well, when it was first starting, the first 2 months, I put out 100,000 Ukrainians had died. Then people were saying, oh, you're a Russian propagandist or whatever. I said, I'm sorry, my numbers come directly from Ukraine.
Yeah, you have an office in Ukraine.
Well, you had 2 employees there, yeah. And one on each side, actually. And then, Ursula stood up and she said 100,000 Ukrainians have been killed. And Zelensky made her take it out of the speech. I said, he said, oh, that was classified information.
Yep, she blurted that out.
Yes.
You have to back you up.
I've got both videos. So the problem is that now you have the neocons telling him to lower the drafting age in Ukraine.
They said no on that.
They don't care. They would throw 7-year-olds out there just to win. This isn't about Ukraine. This isn't about freedom. You had you had Lindsey Graham a couple months ago on Face the Nation, and he actually said the truth. He said, oh, there's $10 to $12 trillion of natural resources under Crimea, and we can't allow Russia and China to have that.
Ding.
It's gas.
Yeah.
So this has got nothing to do with freedom and democracy and all the rest of this.